Good afternoon, wonderful people. I wanted to get started on some seed planting today. It's the middle of February, and it's time to start things like peppers that take a little bit of time to get going, that need a lot of heat and that kind of stuff. And I noticed a couple weeks ago that my elliptical had stopped working, and you could still ride on it. You just couldn't change any of the levels. And then today when I went to go and start up everything, this wasn't working. So I checked our breakers, and one of the breakers had tripped. So I untripped it, and my heat mats and everything is plugged into a surge protector, and 3 times it sounded like a little mini explosion in here. So it's actually the surge protector that's bad. The lights work. I think the heat mats work. I'll have to test them out. But as I plug each one individually into the socket, they work. So I'm going to have to address that later. But today I'm going to go over the peppers I'm going to be planting, because last year I learned a lot of lessons. First of all, I can grow peppers really well in my yard. So I'm actually going to grow different varieties this year based on what I learned last year. Things I won't grow again. One, because I didn't have a use for them, or they didn't do as well as some of the other varieties. So I have a few things that I'm going to trade out. And then the other thing is I grew quite a lot of peppers for my tiny garden. I had, I think, 21 pounds of peppers in the end. Some of them are still in my freezer. I tested out, fermentation, and I didn't have very much luck with fermentation. That just did not do well at all. It didn't do what I wanted. And what my goal is in the end is to make fermented hot sauce. So this year I've decided to change things up a little bit. My previous video, I mentioned that I was going to be growing a salsa garden. I'm sticking to that, salsa and Bloody Mary garden. So to start that, I need to start working on the peppers. So let me talk about what I did last year and what things they did okay, but they weren't my favorites. And they'll be traded out this year. So Tabasco peppers did fine. I didn't get a huge harvest off of these, and I tended to mix them in with other things just because my harvest wasn't ever really big for those. Let's see. The bells, I never have good luck with bell peppers, ever. It doesn't matter what variety they are. They come out snack size, basically. So I'm not doing bell peppers again this year. I'm really going to focus on the mild small peppers and the hotter peppers. Fish peppers, super fun to grow. But again, I tended to mix them in with other things just because they were a smaller pepper for me. So they got mixed in with stuff. They weren't super spicy, but they had a little bit of a zing to them. Believe it or not, jalapenos, wah, wah, didn't do that great for me. And I was okay with that because I had some other great ones that did work out. And again, I had orange spice jalapeno too. That one didn't do all that great either. Hot paper lantern. Now, this one was a really fun one to grow and was super hot. I remember smelling the plant down here in the basement. Like, you could actually smell the heat on the plant. While fun to grow and was productive, I probably won't grow this one this year because I have some other hot ones in my list. But if you're looking for a pepper that's fun to grow and looks really cool and is a, nice hot pepper, not too big, hot paper lanterns are great fun to grow. So I recommend this one. It will take a while. So if you're going to grow this one this year, start it now. This one was one of my it took a lot longer to get started. So just keep that one in mind. More bells. Habaneros, I actually didn't do a lot of habaneros this year. Corbaces, these were really fun, and I had a lot of them, but I'm going to trade them out for something else this year. So again, if you are interested in growing something really fun, cool, these were great. I had a great harvest out of them, but I tended to mix them with other things, and they were tasty. I cannot recommend these enough, but I'm not going to be growing these again this year. Peppercinis, those did pretty well. I had a pretty good harvest, but they were smaller, so I didn't end up with huge peppers. I was looking more for something like what you see in the grocery store, peppercini size, and mine ended up being towards the end of the season, they were pretty small. So at the beginning of the season, they were more normal size, but towards the end, they just sort of petered out. I did have a very good, they were very productive though. So if you have a sunnier spot than what I've got, this would probably work really well for you. It just doesn't work great for me because I don't have a ton of sun. So I have to take my, choose my plants wisely. All right, so let's get into what I'm going to grow this year. A repeat from last year. Absolutely loved it. The Chiltepin Wild. This one doesn't do anything until later in the season. You will not see anything until September. But they were 6 feet tall. I mean, huge, huge pepper plants. And I think I had 3 or 4 of them that did well, and peppers everywhere. The only problem is they ripen, so you'll have green and red all on the plant at the same time. So, and you have to use them as soon as you pick them. Once they turn red, they're going to degrade very, very quickly. So you need to do something with them, whether it's put them in vinegar or something to preserve them or use them. That was one thing I found with these. They did not last very long, like not even more than a day. So be aware of that. The reason I grew this one last year is because it reminded me of the peppers that grew wild in El Salvador. And I think this is pretty close, if not the same kind of pepper that was growing there. My friend Dan called them chocolate peppers. I don't know if that was the real name or if he was just trying to get me to eat them, but I'm pretty sure this is what this is the closest thing I've ever found to it. So anyway, very good peppers, very hot, but super fun to grow. So they are going to be going back into the garden this year. I'm really excited to put them back because they're huge and really beautiful. I mean, the colors, it was very vibrant at the end of the season to have these. I've had some requests to grow some peppers this year, which is fun. I'll talk about that one and those in a minute. Put those aside. So I had a lot of, I mean, like the best pepper I had this year, the prettiest pepper, the ones that were so productive and did the best for me this year were the Hungarian hot wax. Let me show you what they look like. They look like banana peppers. They're a little bit spicier. And I got my ones last year, I got them from Johnny's, but this year I got extras from Baker Creek. So either of those places should have them. Unless they're out this year, they may be out. But my best producing pepper is these. And honestly, they were huge. Bigger than, you know, like banana pepper size. These were the ones that did the best. So they're definitely going in the garden again this year. A new one for me is this Sugar Rush Peach, and I've wanted to try it, but the problem, they always were out of it. So I'm really excited to try this one and see if it does well in my garden, because I don't really know if it will or not. So we'll see on that. Cayenne, I've grown these in the past and they do really well, so I'm going to go back to the Cayenne peppers. And I made some really good hot pepper flakes this year, and I believe I had just a big mix of peppers in there that I just dried and threw in the oven and then ground up and put into a big container of pepper flakes, and they are potent. So I think I put a lot of the hot paper lanterns in there, so it's quite spicy. But I'm hoping that I can turn a lot of these into pepper flakes. And maybe even some powder, I don't know, but we'll see how much we get. That's the other thing, you never know. I've grown them in the past and they did fine, but production-wise, I don't know how much we're going to get out of them. Another one I'm going to try is this Black Hungarian. I want to see if I can get it to turn purple. Sometimes things don't have enough time for me to do these colors, so we'll see. I don't know exactly how big this guy's going to be. It looks kind of the size of a jalapeno. Yep, so we'll see if it's going to actually produce anything. And then the Shishito Pepper, these were out as well when I tried to get some last year, so I'm really excited to try the Shishitos because I think I'm probably going to use these a lot in my cooking. They're not too spicy, and yeah, I'm really excited about those. So I had a couple people ask me to grow peppers for them. I had one person ask me to grow Scotch bonnets, which I normally wouldn't because I'm not a super hot pepper person. So the only place that I could find them was this place, Pepper Joe's, and really cool place. I mean, they had some really neat selections there. So if you're looking for pepper seeds, really creative, I mean, all kinds of stuff, go there. And they also sent me a trial package, which I don't think I have it down here, but it was like mixed pepper seeds, and I'm kind of scared to try it out. So those are not in my pile this year. Maybe in the future years, if I decide to turn my entire garden into a pepper garden, I'll do that just for funsies. But this year I'm dedicating it just to the peppers that I know will grow and ones I want to try out. But yeah, Scotch Bonnet, we're going to try out a few of these. My friend wants to make, I think he wants to make hot sauce out of them. So we're going to grow as many of these as I can. And I've told him, I don't know what I'm going to get. I've never grown Scotch Bonnets before, so we'll see on that one. And then the other ones, my sister-in-law is Brazilian, and I wanted to grow something for her that I thought would remind her of home. So I have these Bikinio Peppers, which means little beak, and they use these all the time in their cooking. So I'm going to see if these will grow too. My guess is these are going to be similar to the Chiltepins, and they won't come in till later in the season, but we'll have to see. I mean, you can see how small they are. They're very, very small peppers, so and pretty spicy. I know for a fact that these are very spicy. So, oh, this says distinctive smoky flavor and a rich fruitiness. And then this one says, oh, just a hint of heat. Not the ones I've had. And this says they can be eaten fresh, but are really preferred pickled in vinegar. That's what they do with them, is pickle them in vinegar. That's the way I've seen them. So we're going to try these out as well. So I have quite a few varieties that are going to go in, and I'm going to give a lot of space to the Hungarian hot wax because I know that that's going to be my main pepper, and some new spaces for these other ones as well. I'm very, very stoked. Now, as for my setup this year, you can see what a mess my setup is. So I can't plant today because I need to get a new, I mean, look at this thing. It's sort of trashed anyway. So I need to get a new surge protector, and I'm doing that because I have heat mats down here, so I want to make sure that I'm not going to, catch anything on fire. One thing I learned last year is label every single cell, every single pot. Don't just like, oh, this row is blah, 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 this row is... Don't do that, because as you take them out to the garden, you'll forget which ones are which. So everything's getting a label. I bought this huge stack of labels last year, and some of them I can reuse from last year, but yeah, these are definitely handy. So I will be labeling everything, every single cell. I have pots that I'm going to be reusing from other plantings and things from previous years. And peppers will be in here for a couple of weeks, and then we'll start tomatoes. Okay, this is the moment of truth here. We just got a new surge protector, plugged it in. We'll see if we pop a breaker again. I'm gonna start with the lights because those are less likely to trigger something. I got this one that has these coverings, so hopefully less dirt and dust. I can't see what I'm doing. Hold on, I'm gonna put this down. Okay, so we're all plugged in. I like this surge protector because it has the flaps, so dust and stuff can't get into the plugs that aren't being used. These are my 3 lights, so let's see if we've got power and we don't pop a breaker. Fingers crossed. Oh, I have to turn it on. I think the on switch is over in the corner somewhere. Where is it? Ah, there it is. have light. Let's check all of them. I have only 3 lights actually plugged in though, so 2. Let's see. Ah, ding, ding, ding. All right, now we need to test the heat mats. Let's see if we blow anything there. Here are 2 of the heat mat plugs. We got one under here, one on this level. Those 2 are up already. Let's see. Here's the 3rd level heat mat plug. And this will just go around the top here. Let's see. All right, I'm gonna come back. Hang on. Okay, another moment of truth. These are all my heat mats that are plugged in, and I'm gonna turn this thing back on. Let's see if we're gonna blow anything. Oh. Okay, so far so good. We just need to test the heat mats to make sure they're actually working. So I'm gonna leave those be, and then I'm gonna get my empty. You can see I didn't even clean some of these out. I'm gonna get some of these empty containers. I just need 3 of these smaller cell ones, and we're gonna get them full and going for seeds. So hold on. Okay, so we have 3 of these trays, and we've got some of this seed starting mix. I just picked it up from the box store. The reason you would use seed starting mix, or you can make your own, is that it's really fluffy. It's usually got like coconut coir in it or peat. If you can, stay away from the peat. Coconut coir is a really great replacement for it because it keeps the mix airy. And usually in seed starting mixes, there isn't a lot of nutritional value, so they don't add like compost or anything in there. It's not true soil, it's just sort of a really light fluffy mix. And that's the reason that once your seeds sprout, you'll need to move them to better soil, like topsoil mixed in with compost and some vermiculite, which if you don't know what vermiculite is, it's this stuff, and it can keep things airy as well, so your roots won't get bogged down. This stuff is great if you can usually buy it in bags at the big box store or at a garden store, and it's really excellent for keeping the soil fluffy and allow air and water to move through. One thing about the seed starting mix is you have to keep after the watering. It will dry out very, very quickly, so you have to keep after the watering so that the seedlings don't dry out. You don't want to bog them down so they're just sitting in water, but you also don't want to let them dry out because their roots are really, really tender when they first start. So you got to be careful. And then once they are big enough, after about a week or so, even if just a few days, you can pull them out. Or what I like to do is pop them completely out with the plug and everything to maintain that soil, the structure around it, just to protect the roots, and I put them into the soil mix that way, and they all seem to do fine. So there's a couple ways to do it, but let's get started on this. The way I usually do it, I set it over a bucket so that I can collect any soil that comes off of the tray, because my basement's really filthy, but still. You just And after this, you go. And before you do anything, I like to give it a little bit more so that I put the seeds in very moist environment. So really take your bad seeds or get mixed up part of the seeds, but you want a little bit of moisture in there. So I have this really cool old water bottle with holes in the cap that I've used for watering. It's a really delicate water. I'm sure you can find things like this online, but I just took an old water bottle and used it for the entire season last year. So I just fill it with water from my larger jug. And it seems to do the trick pretty well. So let me show you what I do. And you can see how it just really delicately waters. Kind of goes everywhere, but still. That's probably good. We're gonna let that soak in for a minute, and then we'll come back and put the seeds in. In the meantime, what I do is take my tags and go ahead and label them so that I can, as I'm putting seeds in, I don't forget what went where, and I go ahead and have the tags ready. So this has got to sit for a minute. I'm gonna let that soak in, and I'll come right back. Okay, so now it's just a matter of, I have all my labels in. You can see each cell is labeled, so as I plant them out, I'll be able to use those labels in the next pot as I move to bigger and bigger trays. So I just did one tray to start, and I have a lot, so I have at least 6 of each. Because there are some in here that I'm planting for other people, I want to make sure that I get something. So in some cases I have doubled up, so I have 12, or just at least a few extras. My hot waxes, I definitely have 12 of those because those are the ones that I want the most of this year. And then the Bikinios and the Scotch Bonnets, those are the ones I'm growing for other people, so I have a few extras of each of those as well. I just had some extra spaces, so I decided to take advantage. So this is the Bikinio Yellow, and basically what I do is, so there are not a lot of seeds in there, but you can see how tiny they are, so you want to be careful. These are all the yellows, and I'm just gonna drop one in each cell. And then I have one over here too. What do you want to do? Okay, so that's it for the Bikinio Yellows. And then I have, let's just do the Bikinio Reds at the same time, and then I'll show you how to cover them up. So at this point you can still see, you won't be able to see it, but the seeds are still at the top, and all I have to do is push them in a little bit and cover them. And to do that, you can just take a sprinkling of your seed starter mix and sprinkle it on top. You do not have to smush it down or anything like that. It doesn't need to be super compacted in there. Two. That's over here. All right. So I'll show you what I do, just so you kind of get an idea of how I cover them. I don't really do too much to cover them, just a little bit of the starter mix, and I usually do this at the end after all the seeds are in, but I'm just going to show you what it looks like. you'll see why I do it at the very end, because it's easier to just put it out all on top. So that's about it. You can push it down a little bit on top, and if one seems a little low, just put some more on top. This is, you know, you're not trying to make it perfect. You're trying to make it a good medium for the seeds to sprout, which is why you have a heat mat and then a dome. So once this is done, I'm going to come back and I'll show you what the next step is. All right, so now that my tray is completely full and we're ready to go, you can see this is kind of a mess here, but that sort of happens when you're growing stuff. You end up with cords all over the place, and I use these little Velcro doohickeys to sort of wrangle them onto the sides of this thing until I can build a better thing. And I use there's holes in each of these things so I can run the cords up to the surge protector up here. So the most critical piece is to have the light here, the heat mat, which is working. I just tested it out, it's awesome. And then I like to have these domes. If you don't have a dome, you could use toothpicks or something and plastic wrap. I like these because there's adjustable, so you can adjust how much moisture is coming out. And I always dome my seedlings when I first start them because it keeps the moisture in. And especially with the seed mix, the seed starter mix, you don't have a lot of moisture in that starter mix. So you definitely want to keep the moisture in as best as possible. So basically what I do is I've watered these already, and then I just put them up on the tray or on the heat mat and center it under my light as best I can with that, so that they all get enough light, and then put the dome on it. Here's the dome. Make sure my there we go. And the way this works is it just sort of settles. It's meant for this tray. So I got these from Bootstrap Farmer. So if you needed to get equipment, Bootstrap Farmer's a really great place. They have really good stuff. I've used these, now this is my second year in these. I have the 72 cell, and then I think I have the 32. I think that's all I have for you. Good luck growing, and I'll be back with some more tips and things, and we'll keep an eye on these. These probably will not sprout. Some of them won't sprout for a couple weeks, especially the hot ones. They won't sprout for a couple weeks, but some of the other ones will start to sprout in about a week or so. So we'll see. We'll check every day. I gotta water every day, and I'll come back and show them to you. So happy gardening.